Hi guys, this is Orochikochi again. I hope all of you are good. Welcome to another video. I'm glad to be back and we're going straight to it, guys. Again, like, subscribe, leave a comment on the video, and guys, let's get straight into it, guys. I'm gonna be talking about Manchester United, the transfer window so far. Talking about what my thoughts about the transfer window or what has transpired, and generally giving me my thoughts about it because a lot has happened. I'm a Man United fan, so obviously I'm going to give my thoughts about it. So at the start of it, guys, like, I won't lie, it was a bit surprising. It was a bit underwhelming, let me say the least, because of how the transfer window transpired and what had happened. But to see the sudden change and to see the change in terms of what has happened in the last week has been a welcome surprise, because at the end of the day, as a fan, you always want your club to do very well, and the transfer window is something that from my thoughts and from my process, I always thought that it was a transfer window that needed United to step up and push forward towards the fighting for the league, even if it's not maybe fighting for the league, but putting themselves closer to Arsenal and Manchester City in terms of what the types of players that they brought and the types of progression that they've made. So it was something that we were looking for. It was something that I think that all of us wanted to see what they were going to do. So far, I'm going to give my thoughts about it. So United have agreed fees, have completed deals for Andre Santos and for Yuri Tielemans. For Andre Santos one, it's a good one for the future in terms of potential. But I've seen him before. I think it's been in his game, from what I could see in his game, very, very sharp player. I do people, Manchester United, from the scouting report, they always said that he was a box-to-box midfielder. And I would say that he is. They say that he leans more to having qualities that could play him as a sitter. And from what I could see, he's very neat on the ball, gets the ball very quickly, has very good awareness, can go up and down. From what you could see from the past, before he went to Chelsea, he played closer as a more of like a number 8 that was making late runs into the box, so he scored a lot of goals. But at Chelsea, his role wasn't really defined. It was more of a midfielder, a box-to-box midfielder, was plugging holes in different areas of the pitch. So you couldn't really see him refine and be defined. So I just think that he's a player with a lot of potential. I think there's a lot of refinement in him, understanding which areas he wants to play in. Does he want to play as a sitter? Does he want to play as a goal-scoring midfielder? So there's a lot that he has to do, from what we're hearing from. In Brazil, generally, they're saying that he's going to be more of a player that is more of a Casemiro replacement. But when I look at his qualities and I look at his capacity to improve and grow as a player, I think it leans more to a player who's more of a number 8, who is a competitive number 8 midfielder, more in the mold of like a Michael Essien, more in the Bruno Guimaraes. I can see him growing to that type of mold as a player. His good qualities, very neat on the ball, but I think there's more room for growth. I do think, though, that in terms of United, it wasn't a player that I thought United would need, because it completely caught us by surprise. But they have a plan. That United this transfer window are more looking forward to a data-driven approach. So a lot of the players that would initially think that they were going to sign are not the players that they eventually were going to be familiar with, And it leads to my second player, which is Yuri Tielemans. Very good midfielder. I love him. I like him so much as a player. He's a metronome of a player. Very good on the ball. Very technical. Controls the tempo of the game. Can slow it up. Can slow it down. Can take the ball off the back four. Is very good on the half turn. Can add numbers to the box. Can be a second creative midfielder beyond Bruno Fernandes, because he has that capacity. He's those types of players that is a metronome. Is a register. He can control the game. He can play forward. He's progressive passing. He works hard than people give him credit for. in terms of his winning of the ball. Yes, he might not have the legs and the capacity to cover ground, but it also leans to what Manchester United wants to play as a football club. I think for me, it wasn't something that I expected, but when you look at him as a player in terms of who I am, of who Yuri Tielemans is, I think it's a very good signing. I'm sure it caught a lot of teams by surprise because, you know, he was probably Aston Villa's best player, and he was the captain, he was their key player. And a lot of good things that Aston Villa did last season went through Yuri. So for United to be able to get him at a prime age where he's going to give experience, I think it's going to add a lot to the game in terms of Kobe, because Kobe is very good in short spaces, can drop his shoulder, can dribble, is very good on the ball, but he doesn't have the passing range. And I think passing range, I think in the last part of the year, you could see that Carrick worked a lot on his defensive and his positional awareness in terms of knowing when to drop deep, when to take off the ball of the back four, which areas to cover. So you didn't really see him drive forward the way that we normally saw him in the previous seasons under Ten Hag. But I think he can add more to his game with Yuri there, because Yuri has a great passing range, can play from deep, can create opportunities as much, because you know that United also plays with that capacity to be quick on transitions. So having a deeper threat in terms of Yuri to also stop Bruno from dropping deeper to come and fetch the ball off the deep. Bruno then can look at playing inside the pockets in behind the opposition defensive midfield. He can look at being able to play closer, like you remember Bruno did with Paul Pogba. You know, he wouldn't play closer to the midfield. He will play closer to the attacking line, in terms closer to his wingers, closer to his striker. So I think he adds a good element to the game in terms of what he brings. I also think a player like Yuri is a player that United really needed, because you need a tempo setter. You know, a lot of the players that had, even Casemiro, as much as Casemiro is a very good player, you know, you need United generally, Bruno, when you have players like Bruno and Casemiro, generally because they are risk takers, because of their passing, there would be a lot of turnovers in terms of how the turnovers. And I like risk. I like being able to play with risk, but you also need a player who can be able to understand what the game needs, understand what the game needs, understand how to slow down the pace of the game, how to pick up the tempo of the game, when to be able to play short passing, and also knowing the fact that United are going to play in Europe. You also need, because Europe is more of a slower game, it's more of a technical game, it's not a physical up and down game like it is in the Premier League. So I think having a player like Yuri is going to be a really, really big masterstroke, because I think he's been one of the best midfielders ever since he's come to the Premier League. He's been there for a long time, and as he's grown, he's added more to his game. So I really think it's a smart signing. And I think from when you look at it, I think it's been kind of, the transfer has been kind of okay, because I'm not going to be remiss to say that I'm not disappointed. You know, United obviously didn't get involved in the Elliot Anderson deal. They walked away from Sandro Tonali. They walked away from Matias Fernandes. So when you walk away from those 2-3 top profiles of midfielders, you need to make sure that also the players that you're getting also are smart or can match up to the quality of those players. And one thing that those 3 players have over, I think, at Tielemans, because I think Andre Santos has the capacity that they have in terms of his physical traits, but the physicality, but because it's not more polished like the Elliot or like Mateus or Sandro, his game is not as polished as them. So United need a defensive. They still need a defensive midfielder in that area, and I think that's why it leans to them being able to look for a defensive midfielder that can cover ground. I don't not like Manu Ugarte, but a defensive midfielder who's very good on the ball, who can take the ball off the back four, who can the ball can start from him. Is very secure with the ball, can cover space very well. When the ball breaks down, you can be able to close space and be able to win the ball back for the attack at that midfield. If you noticed, like a Yuri Tielemans played with the Andre Onana and McGinn or a Boubacar Kamara, because those are players that would give him legs. So he, as much as he would also play a role in the defensive work, but having those types of players with the physical prowess and with the stamina and the endurance to cover space the way that they did, it leaned more to him being able to focus on the team moving forward. So I think it will need, Man United still need that type of player who can break up play, can start up play, can fill in the holes, can win the ball back. And that's why I think United need to look at the profiles that they need. From what I'm hearing, Manu Kone from France is a very good player. Wasn't really familiar with this game, but when I looked at him, he's very secure on the ball. He's not a defensive midfielder, I say he's more of a box-to-box midfielder, but he plays more deeper than, he wins the ball very quickly, can eat ground, is very powerful. It's the type of profile that you need, and he's at a very good age. He's 25. Other players, Carlos Baleba. I think with Carlos Baleba, the only thing that is a problem is two things. One, his form last season was very worrying. I think for a player to have the sort of heights that he had 2 seasons ago, and for him to go as low as he did last season is a bit worrying, because when a player is on the up, you would expect him to add things to his game that he could improve or he could lean more to the team. And I don't think, from what I noticed from Baleba last season, there is nothing really that he added to his game to elevate him a lot further than the other players. So, and also the second thing I think is price. Brighton are a very difficult team to negotiate with because they want price. And they're also probably looking at the fact that Elliot Henderson went for 116 million. They're probably looking at Matthias Fernandes, who went for 85, and also Sandro Tonali went for 100 million. So because of that, I think I don't see Brighton asking for less than 75 million for Baleba, which I think for me is overpriced. I think at the rate and the way he performed, I think the most that Brighton should get, for me, from his value, 55 to 60 million is probably as high as I could get. And that's also because I understand the market is inflated. But if you're looking at his values, 45 to 50 million tops pounds, because the drop-off that he had last season was quite stark. So I think from that essence, he's a very good profile, but I think it's going to be difficult, because I think the way that he tailed off last season and the way he performed, I think United, you can also see that United are not really looking at him. They might look at him as probably the last alternative for if they are not able to get other players. I also heard about Eduardo Camavinga. He's not a defensive midfielder, but he's also very good. Covers ground quite a lot. He's very good on the ball. He's very physical, very fast. Can cover space very quickly. Can drive forward with the ball. And I think he is probably the type of profile that could fit into United. He's not a defensive middle per se, and he's not an attacking middle, and it doesn't have a lot of qualities that lean him to moving forward. But I think if you wanted, you could develop into a probably competent defensive midfielder or deep lying player. So I think he's a very good profile. I'm worried one thing with him is about his injury record. Generally gets a lot of muscle injuries, and when you look at the hustle and bustle of the Premier League, I think it's very difficult to look at him. And also the price, the fact that he doesn't want to leave Real Madrid also is also a thing. But if United can muscle their way into that deal, I think it's a very good deal. I think for 70 million, 70 million, United, I think, could be able to get a very good player. Champions League pedigree also, the other thing that I was thinking about. So he's a very good player. Alex Scott. I think Alex Scott would have made sense if United had signed him ahead of Andre Santos, because I think Alex Scott is a box-to-box midfielder in what the profile of Andre Santos is, if you get what I'm saying. So I think Alex Scott is a very good player. I haven't seen a lot of him, so there's nothing much for me to say. But from what I could take and from what few snippets that I could see from his game, I think he's a box-to-box midfielder. It's very good, covers ground very well. It's very skillful, and is probably the next crop of English midfielders that are on the up and up. But I think the biggest problem is his price. Bournemouth are not looking to sell him, so for United to get him, it's going to probably cost a similar price to Matthias, which is £85 million. And I do not think United are going to take out that type of money for him. And I also don't think it's worth it. As much as he's a very good player, I think he's being massively overpriced. So I think those are the players that they are speaking. They are stellar items. I don't think it's the type of quality that United would suit United. I think for his good traits, and yes, probably from the data metrics that United are using, he probably favors well in all of those metrics. But I think for a type of midfielder that United need, I think they need more quality, better quality than him. The same as Sanderberg, I think is a very good player. I saw him in Norway in the World Cup. Very good, covers a lot of ground, is good on the tackle, wins a lot of balls back. But I think they need a defensive midfield a little bit more about him. And also because of the remit that United also looking for a player with Champions League experience, I think he's not going to probably fit his bill. So I think from that, United, I think probably have to look at the Camavinga deal. If they could find a way to get him from Real Madrid, I think it would be a very, very good move. As much as I would have loved Aurelien Tchouameni, all of us, I think all of United fans probably would have loved him. But because he extended his contract, I think he's off the market. So I think Camavinga would be a good deal. And guys, there's other midfielders, you know. There's a Mamadou, there's a Sangare from Lens in France. There's him. There's a Lamine Camara, but Lamine Camara is a box-to-box midfielder from Monaco. So there's a lot of different profiles in Angelo Stella from Stuttgart, Felix Mecha, but all of those profiles are not what United are looking for. So I think for United, the three players that I would put them down to, probably a Camavinga, Baleba, and a Manu Kone. I think those are the three players that I think United should look at in order to fill that gap, in order to fill the defensive midfield role. I think those three players have good physical process. I would put Camavinga 1, Manu Kone 2, and then probably Carlos Bilaba as a 3. I think either of the three signings, obviously the worst one would be Baleba, but if they get anything between Kone and the Camavinga, I think it would be good. I think if it's Kone, United have to move fast, because I think a lot of European teams are looking at him because of the price. It's going to probably cost you around between 45 to 50 million pounds. So I think it's a good profile. It's a very good age. So I think a lot of teams will be looking at him. So if United can snap that fast, if they see that the Camavinga deal is off the table, I think that would be a very good start. It wouldn't be the transfer window that I would have really wanted, because I would have loved if United got an Elliot Anderson and Matthias Fernandes or Cedro Tonali, or two of those three. But I understand that United are also trying to build a midfield department where they have 4 players, so they could be able to rotate between the Premier League and the Champions League. So when you are doing that, you have to be flexible, and you can notice that United are not a team that are trying to overpay. So it's good to see they've had a reasonable start in the transfer window, but there's still a long way to go. This was a video dedicated primarily to the midfield department. So I think United need to add more numbers there. I think out of those 3, if they're able to get one of those 3, I think it would be a good one. I think they would have alleviated some of the issues that they would be facing to the coming season. And yeah, I just hope that United can be able to get a smart deal. If there isn't anyone that we expected, obviously United, the way that they did the Chouameni, the Tielemans and Andre Santos, they did it out of the blue. So all of us are anticipating what they'll do. But so far, I think it's been a reasonable one. I think there's a lot more to grow. There's a lot more to do. But I think it's been a reasonable one so far. So I think United have done reasonably well. So we'll see as time is going. So guys, just wanted to give my thoughts about the midfield department, the Yuri Tielemans and Andre Santos signings. Gonna be more videos coming soon. So I really appreciate it, guys. Leave your comments, and yeah, let's talk, guys, and let's kind of communicate with regards to this thing. I hope you enjoyed the evening. Bye bye, guys.